fire ants. How many of y'all have ever kicked into a fire ant hill accidentally? Okay. Well, Marcy is doing this on purpose. She came here with her eyes pretty wide open to a group of people, Hot Springs Village Tea Party people. Tea Party people, she did some paranormal studies apparently, so maybe she'll, para I guess means sort of normal or partly normal or almost normal or above and beyond normal maybe, but that describes us, doesn't it? Paranormal? Not quite normal, some of it. But anyway, we are fire ants, aren't we? Some of us? We are fire ants. We're a mound of fire ants, and if you come in and accidentally kick into us or put a stick in the fire ant hill, who's done that? Put a stick in just to stir them up, right? And watch them all scurry about. Marcy's doing that here now. She's, yes.
Some in the audience are friendly, Marcy.
Yeah, yeah, we're friendly. And Marcy was a guest to the Hot Springs Village Board of Realtors recently, and was open and communicative in a way that very much impressed me. She was willing to take very frank and very animated sometimes a conversation and respond well to it. And I was quite impressed with that. And after that meeting, before she got out the door, I asked her if she would consider coming to this group. I figured if she could handle that group in that environment, such as it was, it would be fun to have her here too, and that she might be up to it. And sure enough, she is, and she's here. She also, I told her about the fire ant thing, and that we might be a mound of fire ants, and she might be kicking us with some of the topics that could come up. But she's going to come and do it. Come and kick the fire ant hill, Marcy, and tell us a little bit about yourself. And oh wait, I'm sorry.
What?
Just a couple of things. Change Unlimited is a corporation that she's the president of. It's a consulting firm. And
Oh, just let her talk.
Chicagoland. She had a lot of years in Chicagoland.
All my life.
And I looked up, before I came here, I really did, to see if there were fire ants in Chicagoland. And if they had made it up that high. And apparently they have. So, come and talk to us, please, Marcy. Kick the fire ant hill. Yeah, I'm ready.
Thank you. Now, do you want me to speak in the microphone?
We do.
Yes. You do? Does that help? Does it help you? Okay. So, Clay, are you volunteering to stand here and just hold it for me?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay.
Just stand by.
My name is Marcy Mermel. Let me tell you just a couple personal things and how I got here, and then we can go from there. And I'll just tell you right now, I feel I am one of well, I don't know how the rest of my board feels, or I know how there's been rumors of previous boards that they don't want to come and talk to many groups, you know, that may have. I'm not here to talk to you about anything politically, obviously. I'm here to talk to you about the village, and I'm willing to answer any questions. I'm also willing to research any questions if I don't know the answers to them. I come from Chicago. I was born in Park Ridge, which is on the first city out of Chicago on the north side. And I left my last 15 years, I was in Oak Park, which is the first city, suburb out of the city on the south side. Or the Eisenhower, let's say, out of the loop. So I went to high school for 3 years, hated it. So I just went to college. went down to U of I and worked in Illinois for a California company for a while, but really basically was in Illinois till I got here. I have been a visitor of Hot Springs Village for over 25 years. That's how I'm a golfer, and that's how I found out about the village. One of my best friends and her husband live here. So I was here for once or twice every year for that long. And in 2011, when the market was good for buyers, pardon me, I bought a house because I figured, okay, for the next 10 years, this is the most fantastic place to golf. It really is we say it's the largest gated golf community in the country. It's actually the largest gated golf community in the world. But it was just so wonderful. I thought, okay, it's now's the time. Let's get a house. I like to travel I like to have my dogs with me when I go places, and so I thought, let's do it. Then I thought maybe for 10 years I'd be traveling back and forth. And in 2013, a few things happened in Chicago that just jettisoned me down here permanently. Very surprised and not ready to retire. So my consulting firm, which I've had since 2001, does not really translate in Hot Springs because it's a tourist town. I'm a small business consultant and mostly in finance and in real estate. I'm a CCIM. I've been a commercial real estate broker since 1986. That's where my forte is, in commercial real estate and finance. When I took on a contract in Hot Springs, they didn't want to go into the second stage of it. I thought, you know what? This is what really scared me and put me into the race to become a board director or director of the board. When I was here in 2011, the DeSoto Club was open and the fuel stop was open, and I was so excited that there was a very local centralized place to get gas inside the village. So then I go away and I come back to do some construction on my house, and I find out in that short of time, those two things now were vacant. And as a commercial real estate broker, if any of you are, especially from a city like Chicago, if you see major commercial pieces vacant, that is the first thing that should scare you. And it's the first thing that tells you there's, it's the beginning of a spiral downward unless they're taken care of quite rapidly. So that, literally shocked me. And I said, God, and I looked at the board, I looked at the background of the board, lots of military, not a lot of business. I knew David from working with him on my contract that I had in Hot Springs, and I talked to him and said, nobody has the background that you have. And people were so encouraging to me to try and run, even though I had only been here physically for a short period of time. And so I went ahead and did it. It was a rocky road because some people that said they were part of the team, not part of the team, whatever. I was the only one that made it to the end of the group that we started with, and I'm glad I did, got elected. So there you have it. I can tell you anything personally, don't know what you want to know, but more than that, it's the election process which you asked me to talk about. It's really anybody's game. And it's interesting because RASP, do you know who RASP was? One of our former committees. They were trying to create a sort of education or pre-qualification process. And I was very, very glad to realize that my fellow board members and everybody felt, it was unanimously voted upon, that there would be no such thing, because that is no way a democratic situation. Because they were trying to educate and certify people before they ran. That's not right. What we felt is that everybody and anybody, no matter who you were, if you were able to get your signatures and you had the qualifications as far as in good standing, etc., It is the voters, it is the villagers that seek you out and flush you out, basically. And I was very, very glad that they took that stance. So that's really it. The number of debates is debatable. It changes every year. There are two majors that are hosted, but when I was running, there were a lot of different smaller groups, and even people in their homes that asked me to come and speak. So, if you want me to talk about a couple things that you asked me to, or you want?
Yeah, what do you consider some of the larger major issues of concern currently?
Okay. I'm sorry, I've got such, I need to stretch off. Okay, so you wanted to talk about the two-tier thing. How many of you voted for two-tier?
I think I did.
How are you? And how many of you voted against two-tier? Okay, I did too. So, it is in my opinion that the two-tier situation is not the best answer. I agree that we needed to raise assessments. I do not agree that it should have been in that way. I wish I had gotten here sooner, because I would have jumped on that committee in a heartbeat and really do the actual work that it takes to create a more fair and equitable division of the burden. But with that said, we all are now subject to the two-tier situation. The plaintiffs got one more extension. And there is also a little scuttlebutt of some people that are trying to sue the plaintiffs because they are holding, okay, we're not getting involved in that at all, as far as the POA. So, as far as the board of directors, we're just letting that all go. That has nothing to do with us. We don't know what will happen with that. But what we will be doing is, if you don't know already, we will be escrowing the new assessment amount starting in January, and basically putting it in an interest-bearing account and seeing what happens when it happens with the actual lawsuit. Does anybody have any questions about the lawsuit? It's really kind of black and white, and at this point, I figured everybody knew all about it. The swimming pool? I'm just going by stuff that Clay told me you might want to talk about. Yes?
Marcy, we also have a lawsuit against the gentleman.
Your copy here.
I was wondering what the status of the lawsuit against the gentleman that owns the storage company.
Oh,
of
the tree man,
Yeah.
the lumberjack. That is, all I can say is it's ongoing. I can't give any particulars, but we have attorneys working on it, and it is, I can't speak to the particulars, but it is ongoing. We're not ignoring it at all. Is that what?
Well, that's what I knew.
Okay. More to a point, what would be your question and I'll tell you if I can answer it or not.
Well, I guess you can't, because I just wanted, all right, what's going on? I know we have lawyers, they have lawyers. That's it.
There's 3 or 4 different possible outcomes that they're looking at or that they're seeking. As far as resolution, and I can't speak to any of the actual particulars, but we're not just sitting there. We have a legal team on it. Yeah, it's not being ignored at all.
John, hang on. All right.
Marcy, why did the board disregard the recommendation of the person that headed the committee to replace those trees. In other words, they have to be replaced one way or the other. Why not just go ahead and replace them, like he suggested? And then he resigned over that issue, I believe.
Frank?
The person that was heading the committee that made the recommendation to replace those trees, and then then the board said no, because we're in litigation, we can't do that. He resigned. What was that all about? There was very little in the paper about that, but.
That is actually, I have to get you that answer, because I do not know.
Okay, well, it was in today's paper again, in the very short, at the end of the article.
Do you know the gentleman's name?
I don't know his name, but he was the head of the committee, and he resigned over the record. Somebody here will know
Do
about
you
it.
know which committee it was?
I want to say what would be the public property, what would
The
that?
Common Property?
Common Property Committee,
All
right.
Let me find out. And if I don't know something, I'll find out for you, and then I'll get it to Clay.
Okay, you ready for, well, I guess we're gonna just kind of morph into back and forth with Q&A. I saw
That's fine,
first.
that would be fine.
Hi, Marcy.
Hi.
I admire your intestinal fortitude to be here. I've been in the village 23 years, and I've seen a lot of things happen. In the last several years, I've seen such animosity that I never saw before. But one thing that is
Can you
consistent.
explain, what do you mean by that, by who?
There's various things that have happened. I'll give you one direct instance.
Okay.
I'm an ambassador. I was. I don't know that I am anymore because they reduced the number of ambassadors. But I've been there longer than any other ambassador. When,
In the POA building?
yes, in the
Yes.
POA building, the decision was made by management, whoever that is, to change it, to knock out a wall and all this. Okay, the clerks and the ambassadors all said, why? There's no reason to do this and spend all that money. It works just fine. And a letter was written, no response was given. It was just, that's what they did. Beautified the place. Going on to more important things. Decisions have been made by the board and nothing is voted on by we property owners. And we don't even get the details. What is so secret about the term deal? If it's such a good
Secret
deal,
vote.
we ought to know more about it.
The Troon deal?
Mhm.
Okay.
Another one is, I was somewhat of a champion for the PROs. And this is gonna cost us more money and less effective, even though the article in the paper was to the opposite. The PROs were people who lived in the village, almost all of them, retirees,
Are you talking about the gate?
pardon?
Are you talking about the gate security?
Yes, public relations officers.
Got it.
And I can cite several instances that it's a means, all of us, or the ones I know of, believe it's to open up the village. At this point, I think it's probably gonna have to be. And the village is gonna have to incorporate, and somebody can build a big hotel and go on. I'm rambling now.
I
I'm just
gotcha.
saying that the village isn't like it used to be, and real estate values, which I'm very concerned about, are dropping like a rock.
Clay, I don't know if you can speak to the real estate values, but they are not dropping like a rock right at this point, correct?
Well, there was a pretty large drop and it's fairly
Kinda
flat.
leveled off a
Fairly
little
flat
bit,
now, I would say. That's my.
So they're not
sense.
currently dropping like a rock. But in, let's say like 2011, I took advantage of them dropping like a rock, so I understand what you're saying. Let me talk about the true, first of all, my campaign situation was that common sense and business sense, okay? We need to use common sense and we need to run we are in a service. We are in real estate service and we are in we're in a service first as far as all our amenities and everything. And we have to run the village like a business, or we're not gonna be able to survive, okay? So we do use, or I do use, and the first thing is business concepts. I love the village personally also. I actually bought my home, bought all the lots except for one around it, and just put an addition on it. So I have great hopes for the future. This is my last residential destination. So, and I trust that we are going to be able to make this, once again, a great place. It's going to be a different place, but it's going to be a great place as you remember when you first got here. And I fully believe that, or I would not have invested all of that to stay here. Let's talk about Troon. Troon is, I don't know where you came from before coming here, but I'm again from Chicago, and worked actually, one of my clients had been a golf course architect, and I've been in working with golf in different situations for years and years, and am very familiar with golf management companies. Billy Casper has one, Kemper has one, Greg Norman has one. I mean, there are several. Troon is just one of them. Troon is a golf management company. I actually have experienced 6 of their resorts and courses, and they do a tremendous job. Today is a day of outsourcing because of the very, very high costs of human resources and benefit situations. To pay for benefits as far as health care, et cetera, it's extremely costly. So outsourcing, you know, whether you like it or not, is if you can, it's the name of the game, if you can get the cost down and get the experience up. So, as far as Troon is concerned, for us to literally manage every single golf employee, that takes a huge amount of management. But to outsource the management of the golf to Troon was a very good move. We get literally international pricing.
What do you mean by that?
Troon is a golf management company.
But international pricing.
All right, when we buy our equipment for our golf courses, when we buy our chemicals and fertilizers, we get Troon pricing. So we are getting the pricing and discounting that they get because they are all over the world.
Okay.
Yeah, and that goes all the way to big grinders and all, you know, huge pieces of equipment that we need. So that's one huge advantage. The other thing is they're a great golf management company, and they are actually a great food and beverage company also. So yes.
I just want to interrupt. I'm for it. I'm not trying to oppose it. They don't give us any information.
The actual Troon contract is proprietary. It's proprietary.
That means you don't give us any information, right?
No.
No. I wasn't. First of all, I wasn't part of the board when this all happened, so I'm trying to explain it to you.
Didn't happen on your watch.
No.
No,
So I'm just trying to explain it to you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember asking that at a board meeting, and they could not tell how much it was going to cost, because if, I was told that if the price they quoted to us was agreeable for us, but they didn't want other Troon entities to know what our prices would be.
Exactly. That's what when I say proprietary, that means they did not
Confidential.
want like if they were cutting us a deal, that they weren't cutting another Troon in a troon course in Colorado. That's what I mean by you just can't let that kind of information out. That doesn't mean it's secret, that's just what happens in business. Yeah, yes.
Let me take that over there.
Do you want me to finish his stuff first though? Or is that another true question?
You were gonna say a few more things?
I got a true question.
Okay, go ahead. I'll help you if I can.
Basic, can you hear me?
Yes,
Well, I'm gonna bring it to you anyway.
you take the microphone
Yeah,
and
you
I'll
just
just
cooperate
talk
here.
loud.
I just wanted to ask, what does Troon charge people they bring in from the outside?
Oh, that's an interesting
What
question.
do they charge for 18 holes?
Well, it depends on which course you're on. But we had someone that was in line getting in Granada, and one of our board of directors, and he was behind someone that came from out of state on a troon package. And while the guy from, the village was paying 30 or whatever it is, the gentleman in front of him was paying $98 for that round.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Well, I quit playing a long time ago when my club stopped doing what I wanted them to do. But I was just wondering if part of that money, then we're still subsidizing all of the golf here in the village.
We're subsidizing it less. It has decreased.
Yeah, but we're still subsidizing it.
We're
And
trying.
that money that we're paying to subsidize those courses comes from our $65 increase. Am I correct?
Part of it, yes.
So we're maintaining the golf courses for Troon to come pay them, to play them.
And pay more money to play them.
I see. Okay, I think I understand.
How much of that do we get?
The Ray is an employee of Hot Springs Village. Correct. And it's an interesting concept, but that's how it works.
Marcy, thank you for coming, and I know your job is hard. And I'm very pleased with the security that we have on the gate right now. What I have seen, I like. But my concern is we need more policemen in the village. And they need more things that they really need to be on top of what their job is. And as I talked to David, it's like, oh, well, but people, the one thing, and John and I are involved with a lot of people, and the one thing that I do hear from them is that we need more policemen in the village. It takes 20 minutes to go from one gate to the other gate, clear across, and if we have a
And that's if you're going
catastrophe,
really fast.
yeah, and if we have a catastrophe in the village, and another thing I think we need to look at, if we have a fire in the village, we have just so few lanes to get out.
Let me tell you about the police thing first. I don't know if any of you went to the academy, the police academy that they had. Did you? Okay. And so you probably know about the Alumni Association now so the police, do you know about the academy?
I do.
Okay, so does anybody not know about the academy? Okay, so the police department put together a program where you could come and actually train with them for, what was it, 8 weeks or?
2 hours a week.
Right. And they're actually doing another one, or they might even be on their third. And it turns out that they put together an alumni association, and actually talked to Jim Patton about this just 2 days ago, that is going to be basically friends of the police situation, where they're going to try and raise money, directly from villagers, to get the police things that they need.
Let me stop you right there, Marcy. Why do they have to go that direction before the POA will take care of them?
It's a misdemeanor of money.
And the academy that people go to, there's no way that they're going to be able to really help them unless it's to maybe watch the people.
No. They can help them raise money
Right.
to acquire things that police
But
need.
to me, I'm asking the question, why are we not putting more of a priority on our police in the village to help them, rather than having them wait till the volunteers come up with the money?
Well, the
People in the village are very concerned about the security in the village.
Okay. I'm trying to think if I know enough to answer your question
See, Marcy,
sufficiently.
See, Marcy, this is what we get every time we bring security up. It's like,
No, I'm only saying because I'm new,
yeah. Well, it's the same answer we have been getting. We've been here 15 years.
that someone
And,
tells you
and
they're
they,
new.
and they really are not interested in.
Well, they are interested in it. They are interested in
And they
it.
do nothing. They may be interested. But we've still got the same amount of police we had. Now, how is that, for years and years, how is that interested? And I think that the people move here because it's gated and the security first,
Yes,
and then the beauty comes second.
right.
But we have made a priority of a shopping list rather than taking care of the security of the village first, and then let's work on the other.
Okay, well, I will tell you that with the new security, with the outsourcing of the new security, with the outsourcing of the new security, that was one of the first steps to disengage the police from having to deal with a lot of stuff at the gates.
Do you know how many police we have?
I think it's like 6 or.
Covering how many acres?
Yeah.
Land?
No, we totally understand that that's the case. And the gate security was, part of the decision was to release the time that the police had to take manning, or not necessarily manning, but watching, supervising the gates. That was part of our plan when that took place.
Did anyone ask the police how much time they devoted to it and how much they knew the PROs did?
I do not know if they asked them that.
I can answer that. Ricky Middleton said that he was in favor of that change.
Oh, yes,
He was in favor of that
very
change, that he felt that would help the department. And there's substantially more than 6 police officers as well,
That we have.
that we have, yeah.
How many do we have?
I'm gonna guess it's probably in the 15 to 20 range.
Oh, great,
Yeah.
There was 18 in the department,
great.
but there's some on leave or injury, whatever. So there's 15 active in the department, but that doesn't mean they're all out.
They're up,
Some are
correct.
in the building, some
Right.
detective. Now, you do have maybe,
Some are
if we're lucky,
secretaries.
on one day, have 3 guys on the run. They work 12 to 12 for 4 months. Now, suppose one covers the front, one covers the back. When I had a personal welfare check call, the boy in the back, they all boys to me. He comes up from the back to check because the one in the front, they converge to checks. Wonderful people. If you ever get to meet each one as an individual, it's gonna blow your mind about the expertise we have. Anyway,
Yes.
I think
And
the bottom
then-
line
and
is
then
we don't have the money to hire any additional police officers. That's it, isn't
That's
it?
part of it.
And it is a priority at the POA.
Yes,
but
it is
Still, we
part
don't
of
have the
it,
money.
yes.
But we can overhaul the clubs and we can
That's it.
beautify the village, but we can't hire more police officers.
Security needs to be first.
Okay,
And that is really, I'm telling you, Marcy, in the village, there are a lot of people that are very concerned about this. They're very concerned about it.
John has a question here, I think.
yes.
I have one of a different
I
nature.
can't really do anything if you just, like, say statements. Just, if you have a question, I can answer you, or I can tell you if I can get you an
Well,
answer.
my question was, when are we gonna get more?
Yes, so your question is, what's
When are we
the
gonna
next
get more?
step to the police situation after the security
When
gate?
are we gonna get more? And you asked David that question. You tell him that,
The fire answer man.
that's right.
Okay,
His fire ants in the village.
Okay, my question is of a different nature. We've been here 15 years, we live on Lake Peneda. When we arrived here, the spillway over Lake Peneda was a beautiful, beautiful spillway that a lot of people stopped and took pictures of. However, the village has let that to be grown up in sprats and trees and everything. It is no longer pretty. But it is a beautiful spillway when they remove all those trees and things that are up there. It's a really beautiful rock spillway, and I would like to see them clean that up to make it pretty again.
Have you approached the Lakes Committee?
No.
Okay, that's the first thing that you do.
Mhm.
I can talk to John, John Weidert is the liaison to the Lakes Committee, but the first thing you do is.
Go to their meetings.
Pardon me?
Go to their meeting.
Yes, and you can find out when their next committee meeting is, go there. You can actually call John Weidert or email him, he's the POA liaison, he's the director liaison. And then, I don't know who the staff liaison is, but that's the very first thing that you do.
Well, it is absolutely a beautiful rock spillway if they would keep that cleaned off.
And if it may be on their list, and you just don't know that it's, number 10.
I've not seen anybody taking pictures of it anymore because it's just, it's
Go
not
to the
pretty
Lakes
now.
Committee that's where that would start. That's where
Okay,
that
thank
would
you.
start. Did you want me to finish your questions about the hosts at the POA building? Your ambassador questions?
Yes.
The reason why that's changing is because everything in the POA building is changing. And they're upgrading, as you know, they're upgrading their software. They're also they're reorganizing staff from the top all the way to the bottom. And they are going to have a full-time reception situation, and you guys are basically are being replaced by an actual employee. So that's.
And that makes sense because
Manpower.
That makes sense
volunteers being
because
replaced by-
that person is also going to have other duties. That other administrative duties and the ambassadors are unable to be given. Like clerical duties,
all right.
like doing work,
Okay, but
yeah.
you did catch his, maybe you didn't,
What?
his meaning that you have volunteers doing that part of it, and you're gonna hire somebody to do that part of it and other parts of it. The math doesn't necessarily add up for everybody. Did you hear that?
We can't get a new policeman, we can get a new accounting.
Well, I mean, you have 3 volunteers that are wanting to do things, they like doing things, and you're gonna run them off.
It's a matter of what has to be done as far as running the business of the POA in there, that's all I can tell you. There's so much going on the front delivery end that it looks like to them that they feel that an actual employee who has training in other parts of in other departments, where they can help the accounting, or they can help in.
But still, the people that sit there free and are happy to and volunteer and say, welcome to Hot Springs Village, and you're gonna pay somebody to say that instead.
That sounds wrong.
Well-
It's wrong because people that are coming to the village for the first time and maybe come in for information, they see a friend. They see a friendly person in the village. That's wrong.
This is the stick in the ant pile.
Okay, I'll be glad to bring it, glad to bring it up to them, but I'm just letting you know that
It's good PR,
it's-
and they're passing it by. It's
okay.
great PR.
Well, Marcy, a lot of people in here voted for you, including me. We're just trying to get questions answered.
I have no problem with
I
that.
don't want you to feel like you got your ears pinned to the wall.
No, I'm perfectly fine.
Oh, by the way, Marcy, and for Nancy, a reminder, today is the first day that you can go to the PLA office and pick up your
Yeah.
application to run for director.
The last
If anybody wants to give her encouragement to do that, I mean, there she is.
The last thing you mentioned is somebody building a giant hotel in the village. Building a giant, you take care of it. The building a giant hotel in the village is not going to happen. if we do have lodging, which I am absolutely a pro on lodging, because we are missing the entire, conference and company, vertical market. If we could see, a lot of you guys don't want people here full-time, but it sure would be nice for someone to come in here for 4 days or a week, spend a whole lot of money and then leave, right? That is the commercial market where we could have corporate outings, corporate national sales, conventions, etc. If we had one piece of lodging, it would not be a large hotel. It would be something in a more of a rustic situation, spread low and spread out, where it would not be, it would go into to the beauty of our village. But we do need that to get the corporate sector, and there's so much money coming from working with 2 national companies for the first 20 years of my career, and going to every national conference and knowing how much money they spent. We're missing that marketplace. And it would also be good for your relatives and everything else, so that they could stay inside the village and not necessarily, if you didn't want to go into a home, because we have no control over the rentals.
And there's two more questions here, but let me point out, as we're eating here, I remembered that you are also one of the thumbs you have in pies is at the Good Sam.
Yeah, I have 2 small companies. I decided to take my efforts, since it did not translate in the tourist town of Hot Springs. I either had to go to Little Rock or to transfer my efforts and just stay here. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my business acumen, that part of my brain, and putting it into the POA, and doing, I actually manage the front end of Cedar Lodge, the dining room. It's kind of a volunteer situation that you kind of get paid for. Lots of work. But I took care of my grandmother till she died in my arms till at 98,
And that's a place that people can find you sometimes through the week?
Oh, sure.
So if they didn't feel like, if they think it's something later that they didn't dig your ear
You
about,
can call me, I have some cards I can pass out if you want, you can email me, whatever you like.
and maybe find you in person there if they want to. Okay, we have a question here.
I just wonder if you could comment on the status of the trailer park. I went to the POA and asked them about the trailer park, and I thought they were going to throw me out of there.
The Artesian,
The what?
the Artesian,
Is that what we
Is
call
that
them
the one at
now?
the east end?
The new one?
It's the new high dollar motor home.
that's
It's
the
not a trailer park,
Artesian,
yeah.
yeah.
It's not a trailer park.
No, I mean, the lots will sell, we're planning to sell for $240,000. That's not
The
a trailer
status
park.
is, it's on hold because one of the major investors pulled
Didn't
out.
have the money, yeah.
Aha.
And it was actually a go. If you were at the presentation, we were waiting, literally voting on it, and as you know, it is on Cooper land, but one of the major investors actually that is local, pulled out.
Okay.
So I'm forever going to that family and other families
I
saying,
have a follow-on question. We heard that Mr. Twiggs is hiring an assistant. Is that right? An assistant manager? Is that anything to that?
no, Linda Mayhood is the assistant general manager. She has been for a very long time.
I have a question.
She was gonna
Okay.
retire 3 years ago,
Okay,
and
here we go. Nancy.
One other question. Those of us in the room here came here because it was a retirement community. We seem to have dropped the retirement, and it's just largest gated community.
No, it's a golf community now.
And I know the manager before David started this, and the people who are here are the ones who have kept the village the way the village is now. Is it no longer a retirement community? It doesn't.
well, I'm not retired.
It doesn't advertise it as such, but that's really the way it was advertised. And a lot of your people came here to, you know, as a retirement community and not as,
That's how my friends, actually, it was always considered a resort community. Cooper even started that. I don't know if it was necessarily only a retirement committee, but that's why my friends came here and way back when. But it's always been a resort committee also. You have to take in consideration that people are retiring earlier now. So, how do you call it a retirement community? You also, you know, you have
Destination.
people here that actually work, so, I'm not quite sure what your question is.
well, it just, my question is just who changed the advertisement of it? There's
David
no,
Twiggs is in total control. He is a mastermind guru when it comes to marketing. David Twiggs.
Oh.
He is honestly, and in all my years in business, I'm telling you from my personal point of view, which I have been in sales and marketing forever, he is a mastermind. But we've always been a destination for visitors. We've always been a resort.
I love people and I'm glad, I just wanted to know who changed it from being a retirement.
I don't know if it ever changed. I just don't think it was always only a retired community, but some people,
It was advertised that way for
it
years.
could have been by NPI also. And we know they should have been here.
I owe you an apology. When I'm feeling something, you're gonna see my passion come out, and I wasn't directing it at you about that's wrong to have a PR, paid PR versus a people PR. And another thing you brought up about it would be nice to have a lodge for the corporate. We have an example of that. We have in our neighborhood some rental homes, and we don't own them, we have them in our neighborhood. And there have been maybe parties or weddings in the home, and the parking along the street doesn't satisfy that. In fact, it was having other people go off the road, or maybe the parking for the
We have
wedding.
no
See,
control over that.
yeah, and that's what this other thing would address that.
Right.
Now, for my personal request, and I don't know how to get this across and how, I can't think of Bob's last name that had the village yogurt, and he came from Arizona. One day we were talking and he said, I'm so surprised that they don't have a building, place for spouses to drop their Alzheimer spouses off just for a day. You know, a daycare.
Adult daycare, yeah.
Daycare. And I said, I can't believe I can't get a hospice hotel in the village. And we started thinking how neat that would be to have one on top of the other. And I saw a hospice hotel down in Florida, because that's, I think, where a hospice originally started, down in Florida. And it was a wonderful, and I've mentioned it to several people, and I came up to David Twiggs' office, he wasn't there, and I talked to his secretary, and I'd like to talk to him about a hospice hotel. And then the summer happened, and the kids came and all this, and 4th of July, and then I came back up to David Twiggs' office, and I said to the secretary that I would like to make an appointment, and she said, what was it for again? And I said, for a hospice hotel. And she said, oh, he came in and wanted to know what it was I wanted to talk about. That'll never happen. And I thought, we need a hospice hotel. We could man it with so many volunteers from the medical industry.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Tell me, how do I get this going?
I don't think it's through the POA. In fact, that's an interesting question. There is one, as you know, we've been trying to get doctors to actually have offices. We have I think we have a dermatologist and a couple other ones by Good Sam's in the front. But we've been trying to get medical practitioners, and they feel that we don't have the population. See, the bad thing is you don't want a lot of people around because you like it the way it is, nice and quiet where you are, right? But the bad thing also then is we don't have the density of population that will hold up when people come and try and say, I'd like to open business inside the village, but there's not enough people here to keep me in business. It has happened with the physician situation, but in this particular thing, I'm actually gonna talk to my director at Good Sam's.
Do you want my card so I can keep in
Sure.
touch with you?
Is this, that's an actually great idea because we do have an Alzheimer's wing.
Needs to be done. People could stay in
Got
their
it.
home and then go visit the parent in the hospice.
I know, that's exactly what I would have done with my grandmother had I been able to
They
do
go to
it.
Hot Springs.
Oh, it's
One
terrible.
day.
Yes, the caring place.
Yeah.
That's
And they've
the-
got a beautiful hospice facility in
Yes.
Little Rock.
Mhm.
But I think the one in Hot Springs is,
Where's your card?
I'll get it.
I have to check out what level of care hospice is. There's levels of, like,
Yeah.
Mount Carmel has one more level than Good Sam's does of care, and we'd have to check it out, but I will bring that up.
Just know that
personally.
David Twiggs is not in favor.
Well,
Well, you know
it's
the-
not that he's not in favor of it, he just knows right now that we have tried many times, I know as for a fact, to get medical practitioners to come inside the village. The density, and again, the population is just not there, and there's enough people that are willing to drive to Hot Springs, so they feel like they don't have to come here.
So Marcy, our
Another
speaker,
choice.
our program speaker director has a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Marcy, thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Oh, you're welcome.
You mentioned that Hot Springs is going to be a different, the village is going to be a different type of place. What do you mean by that?
I said it was gonna be different. I said it might have not just been a retirement. But resort has always been used by, and even when you invite your own family here and friends, you're using it as a resort community. So resort is not a bad word. Resort means people come in, spend money, and leave. That's good as far as I'm concerned. But again, the population of retiring people is getting younger, and their interests are different. They don't all golf like I golf 24 hours a day if I could. But they don't all golf. They have different interests, and we have to bring some of those interests, which again could be a valid interest of yours also. So how is it gonna be different?
I think you mentioned that before the resort
I have a picture of.
issue came up. You just said that, it will be different.
I don't know,
Okay.
does anybody remember I said that?
You did say that, but I think I know what, you're talking about change, and we do need some change.
Change doesn't cause pain. Resistance to change causes pain.
Right.
So, yes, we have to update ourselves. We have to get everything moving and working. And we do, and that comes along with security. That gets included in increasing the population. I mean, growth means growth in everything. You're right. You can't grow by a quarter, by 25%, but not grow your police force. Or not grow your,
Rusty, 1 second. I just wanted, before he gets away, Zach Cuban is here with us again. He comes and visits us often from Americans for Prosperity. He's a state of, what's your official title now?
Like grassroots director.
Grassroots director, and some of you who remember he's working on putting together, and maybe, do you have an update you can give us real quick?
A little one. Hopefully it's good.
Don't go away yet, Marcy, but about the Grassroots Academy that some of you were welcome to participate in, maybe?
Yeah, so hopefully this is good news. Thanks to your feedback, last time I was here, we were kind of kicking around different ideas on the dates and the times, and y'all gave me some good feedback, and I went to the Garland County Tea Party, and we kind of tossed around the idea of maybe doing like a central location at like 3 o'clock on Wednesday to kind of avoid conflicting with church night. But we kind of talked about it and we're like, that's just kind of not really good for anyone. And because we want to hopefully bring this academy back again, we decided to just kind of go all in with either Conway or Hot Springs, and we decided to go with Hot Springs. So that's the good news. The other good news is we talked to our events team about kind of the challenge of doing it midday and church being on Wednesday night. So basically they've agreed to kind of drive an inefficient route. So they're going to go Hot Springs, Jonesboro, and then Northwest Arkansas. So what that means is I was able to move the date to a Tuesday night. So I'm hoping that that's a better outcome, and that way we don't have to drive somewhere else right after a Tea Party meeting on Wednesday and then rush back to church. So we're aiming for Tuesday evening. The time I'm still, we have some wiggle room there, but I was thinking 5 to 7 or so. And as far as a venue, I've been talking with Champion College in Hot Springs, and they're really interested and excited about hosting it there. The only thing is that we're just making sure that the dates actually don't conflict with anything they already have scheduled. So I'm waiting to hear back from their secretary, but for right now, that's what we're hoping to get. And once it's all locked in, I'll be coming to your meetings. And
Do you have a date yet at the beginning?
well, it'll be Tuesday, February 23rd, and then the 5 weeks after that, same time and location. So February 23rd.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And next month and Rusty, especially, and next month, I just want to remind you or call your attention to, and Marcy, you should be very welcome as well. The 5th of January, our first meeting in the new year, our featured speaker is Marcella White, who spent the first 20 years of her life in a socialist tyranny behind the Iron Curtain in Romania under Ceausescu. And she's going to mostly talk about socialist tyranny is what I've asked her to speak to mostly. She is the state director for the Ted Cruz campaign, but that's not the intended focus for the thing. Just, she wears that hat, but she's going to talk to us about socialist tyranny and her experience in Romania and Iron Curtain and the fall of the Iron Curtain and some of that sort of quite.
From Romania, right?
She's from Romania. And those of you who were at the Arkansas Tea Party Alliance, she introduced Ted Cruz's father, who was the featured speaker at that, or one of the featured speakers at that meeting. She was the attractive young lady that introduced him and told some interesting things. So, please come to that if you care to.
Is there any more questions to Marcy?
And yes, there is. Rusty had one.
You mentioned DeSoto and you mentioned QSTOP. What are the plans and what's involved with that?
Oh,
Is
the
it-
swimming pool too.
And the swimming pool, yes,
Okay,
thank you.
so the swimming pool, just first of all, you should be glad that it was closed because it was the biggest, dangerous place on earth or in the village. It cost about $1 million to keep it running because it was so old and antiquated, and we were literally, rubber banding and bandaging things to make it work. There was a drain that was very, very dangerous at the bottom. A very slight child could have gotten down there. You know how kids dive down to get a penny or something and never come up. So I was happy to know that it didn't pass inspection because it never should have for probably the past 3 years. So we're going to, believe it or not, even though we have a bunch of lakes and beaches, a pool, an outdoor pool, is number 3 in any study that in a community like this, in any study, it is one of the top 3 amenities that people want. So there will be another pool. There will be a little bit lax of time because of the lawsuit. But it is, basically was on our list as the next amenity after the DeSoto Club.
Where will it be?
And that has not been determined. There's
Probably more in the middle.
five different sites, but, located, centrally, but I can't tell you where it is going to end up. Whether it's in the same spot or in a different spot.
Okay, here's the one more, it looks like.
But you will get a pool. Oh, DeSoto Club was, the bid came in too high, they're whittling it down now. So we're still going forward because those monies were reserved.
Is it gonna be a restaurant or is it gonna celebration venue or?
It's a restaurant
Okay.
where there can be banquets, the pro shop, were you at the DeSoto, okay. That I think you can find on the website, but it is restaurant, it's in the paper, okay. It's a restaurant, it can be a banquet situation, the pro shop's gonna be in the front. All the Faye Jones stuff is gonna stay in there. But the bid came, the fuel stop, I'm actually working very hard on putting a proposal together for it. But, that has not, been decided on yet.
As a gas station?
No, no. That would be really cool if we could at least get one pump, but I don't think that, we are able to do that.
What seems to be the problem with the fountain?
That I really don't know, people ask me that all the time. You know what, you need to call Jason Temple and ask him. Because he's the only one who knows, because he's the one who gets it fixed.
Okay, John, we have
Yes,
one
ma'am?
question over here.
Okay, Marcy, concerning the pool, many of us use the outdoor pool.
Right,
We need a pool that is higher than 4 feet,
right.
if that is the board's consideration right now.
We're doing a real pool when it comes back.
Okay, so it's at least 6 feet.
I can't tell you the dimensions, of course, because that's not my, forte, but it will be like a Olympic, it won't be a kiddie pool, it won't be near, and if you have children stuff around it, that will be besides the point. It will be a real pool that you can do laps in, that you can do, it won't be a pretty, kidney-shaped pool. It will be a real pool.
Okay, as
Yeah.
long as it has depth to it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Well, that was the depth, not the width and the length you were
Yes,
talking about.
yeah, she was talking about that. Because there may be diving involved, so, yeah.
Okay,
Very important.
and here, Nancy and then Jack, one more time. Then we'll be done.
One more thing, all of this coming so near the homes, is that gonna affect our property tax?
Coming what sooner than home?
Well, you're moving closer and closer, things closer and closer into the homes,
I'm moving,
neighborhoods. And, is the assessor going to up the taxes for the village because of all of that we're doing?
you mean new amenities?
Mhm.
So if we build a new amenity, does the tax assessor take that into consideration for your house? Absolutely not.
I mean, I'm talking about, they get, close to your homes, is
A
this?
new amenity,
Uh-huh.
something nice like a pool,
Yeah,
closer to your house?
right,
No.
you're sure.
Now, well, if your property taxes go up in general because of the economic situation, and if a pool played into that, but no, an assessor can't come in and say, oh, there's a pool near this neighborhood, now we have to, that,
Okay, I think we only have time for just this last question, Jack.
Okay, I'll try to make it a question.
yeah.
Is there any chance that we can get big money investment in here where we can market the village? Because whether we raise it to $65 a month or $650, we don't have the money ourselves to run the village and promote it and get new people coming in.
Actually, we are promoting it, and we do have a $500,000 marketing budget annually. And I just met with David about 3 weeks ago to go over what he's doing, and in an hour and a half, we only went over probably a quarter of it. You may not see it because it's going out.
Getting the villages of Florida, the villages of Arkansas, or Trump, I'm going on and on. Big money. Not horrible, because that's what we're doing.
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Open the village up.
No,
Who's opening the village up?
He wants to.
We're not opening the village. People are paying for a gated
That's right.
community.
that's right.
Well, Mark,
Okay, well, the gate is not as secure as it was.
It is very secure. I mean, it's a
It's much
secure.
better, much better. Now, if don't want to get a community, then you need to go to where you're open.
Yeah, we have no plans of incorporating it by any means.
Yeah.
In fact,
there's a little tip for you, Jack.
yeah, so let's, yeah.
Well, please, those of you who remain, we need to adjourn. And Marcy, you were spared dealing with the pretty large issue of POA lot inventory, so congratulations on that. Not giving that handheld kick too much. No, and we don't have time, right? We need to adjourn.
I'll just
but-
say in the future, we plan on creating a sales situation with seller assets, so.
And please express your appreciation to Marcy for being willing to come to
Hold on,
us.
so you want an answer on the police situation?
Yes.
The adult care and hospice, and anything else that I need to research? Okay.